very good evening to everyone. I hope you all are fine and doing well. I hope that I am audible. My screen is visible. So today we are going to learn some questions, practicing some questions related to Module D, which is balance sheet management. So let's start with the class. Kindly try to give answers, and if you have any problem anywhere, you can ask. So the first question is the case study, where a scenario given, one scenario, second scenario, third scenario, fourth scenario. They are asking what is the total yield in scenario third. They are asking about the total yield in scenario third. If we see the scenario third, in which these government securities are here 600, and if we calculate the yield of 6%, because 6% is the yield, this 6%, so just calculate the 6%, we got here 36, right? Then AAA loans here, which is of 600 again, and yield is here 8%. So what is the 8% of 600? It is 48 rupees. Then in AA rated loans, 10% of 800, which is equals to 80 rupees. And in A rated, there is 0%, that means 0 yield. So what is the total yield here? Total yield we can say 36 plus 48 plus 80, it is equals to 164. So rupees 164 is the total yield in scenario third. So the correct answer is, like, what is the answer without option answer question? So the answer is here rupees 164. Clear how to calculate the yield? Now next question on this case study. What is the capital required under Indian norms 11.5% in scenario second? Capital required 11.5% in scenario second. So first we have to calculate the risk weight asset in scenario second. Risk weight assets in scenario second. Here you can see 800, and the 0% of 800 is 800. Then 20% of 1200. That means if we see the 20% of 1200, which is equals to 240. Okay, so 240, then we have to calculate 11.5% of this 240. So what is it? It is equals to 27.6. So the answer is 27.6. They're asking about the capital required. So 1200, find the 20%, then find the 11.5% of this 240. Then third question, what is the yield percent in scenario second? Yield percent in scenario second. Scenarios are here. In scenario second, what is the yield percent? So you can see that we have to calculate 6% of 800 first, which is equals to 48, right? Then 8% of 1200, 8% of 1200 is here 96 rupees 96. When we add this, we got rupees 144, right? 144. So we have to calculate the yield here. And how to calculate the yield? Yield percent, this 144, what is the total here in the scenario second? It is 2000. So divide it by 2000, multiply it by 100. Here what we got? Here we got 7.2%. This is the answer, 7.2%. Getting it? Then third one. Now, fourth question. What is the capital required in scenario 4 under Indian norms? In the scenario form, under the Indian norms, 11.5%. Simple. We have to calculate the risk weight asset, and risk weight asset here it is 0 here. Scenario 4 they are asking. Then 20% of 600 is 120. It is 200, and it is here 400. What is total? 720, right? So we have to calculate the 11.5% of this 700 is 720, which is equals to 11.5%, 82.8. So this rupees 82.8 is the answer. Is that clear? I hope that this is clear. Next question. Okay, if a bank wants to have maximum risk weight asset, which scenario should it choose? Which scenario it choose? So if you see that scenario 1 having the government securities, and what is the risk in the government security? Risk weight is generally 0%, right? It is having 0%. So that means risk weight is also 0, right? Then here in the scenario second, in scenario second we are having here risk weight asset. You can see this 800 multiplied by 0%, 1200 20%. So that is equals to your 800 multiply 0 and 20% of 1200, which is equals to 240. We already calculated. For the scenario third, what is the risk weight? 0% of 600 0, 20% of 600 is here, and 50% of 800. That means 520, right? That is 520 for scenario third. And for scenario fourth, we already calculated in the previous question 720. So add them. After adding them, we say don't they are asking only the minimum risk weight asset. So minimum one is having the scenario 1. So the answer is scenario 1 because this is only having 0. So that's why scenario 1 is answer here. Clear? Next question. In scenario 2, how much yield is earned from lending to AAA rated customers? How much AAA rated are there? 1200 in the scenario second. We have to calculate the 8% of these 1200. So 1200 multiplied by 8% is equals to rupees 96. This is the answer. 1200, 8% of 1200 is 96. Is that clear? I hope that this case study is clear to you. If any problem in this, you can tell me. The 5 questions are 5. Okay, last question also is there. In scenario third, how much capital is required at 8%? In scenario third, how much capital is required at 8%? So how to calculate? See, what is the risk weight we calculated? 520. So just calculate the 8% of 520. What is the 8% of this 520? That is equals to 41 rupees 0.60. So this is the answer. 520 we calculated and the 8% of this rupees 41.60. Is that clear? Now the next question. If a bond trader earns a $10 million profit, his notional amount is $200 million and the volatility is 4%. Using Z is equals to 2.33, calculate the RAROC, risk adjusted return on capital, round up to 2 decimal places. Can you tell me what is the meaning of RAROC? RAROC is basically a financial metric that measures the profitability of an investment, project, business by just adjusting it for the inherent risk. It is very important tool for the banks and financial institutions because it helps to manage them risk arises from the activities that is related to lending and also compare different type of investment. So can you tell me here what is the RAROC here? What is the formula of RAROC? RAROC is profit divided by risk capital. And how to find this risk capital? The formula of risk capital is notional amount multiply volatility. This notional amount multiply by volatility multiply by Z. Right? And what is the notional amount? It is 20 million. How many zeros are in 20 million? 7. Right? 8. So 20 million what is volatility? It is 0%. So 4%. We can write it as 0.04. And what is G? 2.33. So calculate it. It is equals to here. Just a minute. 1864, right? Okay, so what is profit? 10 million. 10 million is the profit, right? So write the profit and divide it by 1864,000,000, that is equals to 5.4, because we have to round off, so this is 0.54. This is the answer, 0.54. Got it? How to calculate the RAROC? Next question. If a foreign exchange trader makes a profit of rupees 10 million with a notional amount of rupees 100 million and volatility of 12% per annum, assuming a normal distribution and using 99% value at risk, Z is equals to 2.33. So what is the risk capital? Try to calculate how to calculate the risk capital. I recently told you the formula. So let's calculate. What is the, it is there, RC capital, I think same here. Okay, only the volatility is changed, so I think you can do it. This is the formula. Notional amount is this, our 100 million, and here volatility is 0.10 and multiply it by 2.33, and the answer is there, which is your risk capital. So this is the formula you have to apply in this question, right? So do it in your homework and comment down. Don't forget to comment your answers. It is very happiness when you see the homework answers, and once sir give me the answer, so it is helpful to see that you are watching and you are interesting, you are learning. That is one of the great thing. Next question. The risk weight asset of an Indian bank with a capital of rupees 500 crore stand at rupees 5000 crore. So what additional amount of assets it can create with 20% of risk weight? Read the question. In exam also, read the question twice. Don't panic. You will surely achieve your marks, good marks, pass marks, top marks, and just focus on yourself. You are already a star, already a GIIB pass, so that is nothing in front of you. You can do it. So let's do this question. Here capital is given 500 crore, current risk weight assets are 5000 crore, and capital adequacy ratio is 9% as per the RBI and the Basel norms, basically RBI. So maximum RWA, risk weight asset, the bank can support is here. This we have to calculate here, like what is the procedure to calculate. Right, it can create 20% of risk weight asset. See, this question, here first find the risk weight asset, right? And a capital is given apart from this, which is stand at 5,000 crore. So additional amount we have to find. Okay, so minimum capital requirement is 9%. So we can say maximum RWA, risk weight asset, is 500 crore divided by this 9%, that we can write 0.09, which is equals to 5555.56 crore. Now find the additional risk weight asset here, which is equals to, we have to subtract this one. That is equals to how much? Obviously 555.56 crore. Now convert risk weight asset to actual assets here. So that means additional assets are here. This 555.56 crore divided by 0.20, which is 20%. So it is equals to 2,777.8 crore. So bank can create this much amount of crore, this much 2,778 crore of the new assets, right? So this is the way to calculate. I hope that you get this. Next question. RAPM we have to calculate here. All the things are given. Profit is given. Allocated to the product is given. So we have to calculate the RAPM. And what is RAPM? What is the meaning of RAPM? See, this is, we can define that it is a technique set that measures the bank's profitability and which is relative to the risk taken. So RAPM, it provides accurate picture of the bank performance by different ways, right? So this is RAPM. How to calculate the RAPM? Same, we have the formula, profit divided by risk capital. So 12 lakh divided by 4 lakh, which is equals to 3. So answer is 3 rupees. Clear? Easy? Module D is having easy questions. Module B is having little bit hard questions. Next question. Okay. XYZ invest in a 7-year bond with a 12% annual coupon, expecting to reinvest each year coupon at the same 12% rate. However, after 1 year, the interest rate falls to 10%. So what will be the impact on reinvestment income for the remaining coupon payments? See, they are asking about the impact on reinvestment income. So what is the impact? We know that initially the bank expected to reinvest each year 12% of coupon rate, right? At the 12% rate. But when the rate falls to 10%, the future coupon payment can now only be invested at 10%, which reduces the total reinvestment income. This is the classic case of reinvestment risk. That means the uncertainty of future reinvestment rates. So the correct answer is reinvestment income will decrease here. So option C is correct. Clear? Next question. If a bank gives a 90-day loan at 10% per annum and fund it through a 90-day CD at 8% per annum commercial deposit, if the borrower repays the full loan after 90 days, then what is NII earned by the bank on rupees 100 principal? Solve this question. Let's solve this question. Very simple. Here NII is equals to loan rate minus funding rate. Then multiply it by days, divide by 360 days. Then divide by 360, multiply by principal. What is the loan rate is 10%. What is the funding rate? It is 8%. Subtract 8% from it. Multiply by 90 days are there. Divided by 360. What is the principal here? It is rupees 100. So 2%, it is here 0.25 multiply by rupees 100, which is equals to rupees 0.50. 0.50. So this is the answer here, 0.50. I hope that this is clear. This is the net interest income earned by the bank on rupees 100 principal. Next question. If a bank holds rupees 100 crore in liabilities at 9% interest with a maturity of 1 year, which it uses to fund rupees 100 crore in assets that are earning 10% interest with a 2-year maturity, so what will be the bank net gain or loss in the second year if the interest rate on liabilities rises to 11% when rolled over? Let's calculate. If here asset yield is 10% of rupees 100 crore, which is equals to 10% of 100 crore is 10 crore, right? 10% of this 100 crore is 10 crore, right? And liability is there, which is also the 9% of 100 crore. that is equals to 9 crore, right? In the year 2, come to the year 2 now. In the year 2, this is the year 2, this is for the year 1. In the year 2, asset yield remains 10 crore because it is fixed 10% for the 2 years. So asset yield same, that is 10 crore, right? Liability is rolled here at 11%. You can see liability rises to the 11%. So that means 11% of 100 crore is 11% of 100 crore is 11 crore. So you can see that if here liability is increases, so there is a loss of 1 crore. 1 crore loss. Loss of 1 crore. So you can say there is the loss of 1 crore. Is it clear? Next question. What is reinvestment risk? As I told you about the reinvestment risk, uncertainty with regard to interest rate at which the future cash flows can be reinvested is called reinvestment risk, right? So here we can say the correct answer is option B. Why are net overhead expenses such as rent, salary generally not considered in a bank liquidity analysis? Why? Because net overhead expenses, whatever rent or salary, generally not significant enough to be considered in the bank liquidity analysis, and they can be source of cash outflows in some cases. So the correct answer is option A. They are usually too small to impact the liquidity significantly. So that's why option A is correct. Which of the following time bucket is used by Reserve Bank of India to classify asset and liabilities while preparing the structural liquidity statement? Try to give the answer, then I will tell you the answer. So let's understand this question. Simply, here we know that all the assets here, all the assets and liabilities are classified here, right? So we can say the correct answer is according to the in this we include tomorrow, 2 to 7 days, 8 to 14 days is there, 15 to 30 days, this is 15 to 30 days, then 31 days, this is not there, this is not there, this is 31 days and up to 2 months, over 2 months and up to 3 months, over 3 months and up to 6 months, and over 6 months to 1 year, 1 year to 3 year, 3 year to 5 year, and over 5 years. So the correct answer according which are available in the question is first, second, fourth, first, second, fourth and 6th. So here option B we can say correct. First, second, third is also there. Sorry for this. Fourth is there and fifth is also there. B option is correct. Option B is correct here. Next question. If a bank holds HQLA worth 12,000 crore, its net cash flows are over the next 30 months are projected to be 10,000 crore. What is the LCR? And it is compliant with the Basel third minimum requirement. So tell me the calculation of LCR. See, LCR formula is this stock of HQLA divided by the total cash outflows for 30 days. So what is the stock of the HQLA? That is 12,000 crore divided by 10,000 crore, which is equals to 1.2 crore. 1.2 crore and 1.2 crore, if we convert into the percentage, this is 120%. So 120% in the LCR is 120%, which is greater than the minimum requirement of 100%. The bank is compliant with Basel third norms. So the correct answer is there, 120%. Is that clear? You are enough intelligent, this is clear. Next question. What is the reason for complexity in liquidity management for the banks with the international presence? What is the region for complexity in liquidity management for the banks with the international presence? For the banks with an international presence, the treatment of asset and liabilities in the multiple currencies that adds a layer of complexity to liquidity management for two reasons. First, banks are often less well known to the liability holders in the foreign currency market, and the event of market concerns, especially if they are related to the bank domestic or operating environment. These liability holders may not be available to distinguish the rumors from the fact, as well as quickly the domestic currency customers. In second case, in the event of disturbance, a bank may not always be able to mobilize the domestic liquidity to meet the foreign currency funding requirements. So the correct answer is, in the event of disturbance, a bank may not always be able to mobilize domestic liquidity to meet foreign currency funding requirements. So option B is correct here. What are the two main objectives of asset liability management? What are the two objectives of asset liability management? Only ensuring the profitability, ensuring the liquidity. Only two objective: ensuring the profitability should be there, and ensuring the liquidity. So option B is correct here. And you know that what is asset liability management? Just to manage all the assets and liabilities present in an institution. A higher ratio of volatile liabilities to total assets that will lead to See, ratio of volatile liabilities is volatile liabilities divided by total assets, right? So volatile liabilities like market borrowers or market borrowings which are to be assessed and compared with the total assets. Higher proportion of the volatile asset always cause higher problems of liquidity. So the lower the ratio, the better it is. So high liquidity risk is the correct answer. Clear? Next question. Which of the following is not covered in the liquidity risk? Which of the following risk is not covered under the category of liquidity risk? See, there are types of liquidity risk which are basically liquidity exposure can stem from both internally as well as externally generated factors. So external liquidity can be geographic, systemic or any type of problem which are outside the banks. Internal liquidity includes funding risk, or other categories of liquidity risk include funding risk, time risk and call risk. So the one category is which is not the covered under the liquidity risk is put risk, option D. What is the reason for complexity in liquidity risk, liquidity management for the banks with international presence? What is the reason for complexity in liquidity management for banks with international presence? I think this is done. Repeat it. Option B. A bank has a substandard unsecured loan exposure of 10 crore. How much the total provision is required here? We know that for the unsecured substandard asset, the provision is 15% is the general provision and 10% is additional. So the correct answer is here 25% of 10 crore. And what is the 25% of 10 crore? 2.5 crore. So option C is correct. Which of the following terms refers to the ratio that indicates the extent of funds a bank has to set aside to cover losses from gross non-performing asset? The only and only the answer PCR, provisioning coverage ratio. It is essentially the ratio of provisioning to gross non-performing assets and indicates the extent of funds a bank has to kept aside to cover the loan losses. So the correct answer is total provisions divided by gross NPAs. Option D is correct. Case study is given. Now in this, what does the classification SMA1 indicate in terms of overdue days? As per the RBI norms, SMA1 refers to account where principal or interest these are due between 31 to 60 days. This 31 to 60 days for SMA1 accounts, right? So we can say where payment overdue for 61 to 90 days, sorry, 31 to 60 days. So answer B is correct here. Payment overdue for 31 to 60 days categorized as SMA1, special mention accounts. And account overdue for 75 days will be classified under which category? Let me tell you, for 1 to 30 days, it is SMA 1, 0. For 30, 31 to 60 days, it is SMA 1. For 61 to 90 days, it is SMA 2. So, in which category is this? It is SMA 2. Option D. Why has RBI introduced SMA classification for loan accounts? Why? Because SMA framework is a very preventive tool under RBI prudential framework, which is designed to detect the early signs of financial stress and take timely corrective actions before account slip into the NPA. So, to enable early recognition and resolution of stress in the deposit accounts is the correct answer. Sorry. In the loan accounts. Option C is correct. What happens if a term loan account remains overdue for more than 90 days? Simple, it become NPA according to the RBI norms. An account with dues overdue for more than 90 days is classified as an NPA. SMA categories only apply before the 90-day threshold. So option D is correct here. Clear? Next question. What is the full form of IRDCL? What is the full form of IRDCL? What is IDRCL? It stands for India Debt Resolution Corporation Limited, which is a service company that manages and resolves the stressed assets acquired by National Asset Reconstruction Company Limited, which is India's bad bank. So here we can say that India's Debt Resolution Corporation Limited. Option C is correct. Loan to company become NPA on 31st March 2024 has remained as NPA since then. Outstanding amount of account stood at rupees 1.20 crore as on 31st December 2024. The account is fully secured. The name of director of the company has appeared more than once in the list of willful defaulters. So in the light of given information, what would be the provisioning required as on 31st of December 2024? So what is the answer here? See, accounts become NPA on 31st of March 2024. Provisioning as on 31st of December 2024. So 9 months. 9 months as substandard assets. Right? Substandard assets are secured one. Right? So here accelerated provisioning up to 6 months is like 15%. There is no change. For up to 15% for 6 months there is no change, right? More than 6 months to 1 year it become 25%, right? Then standardized secured assets will be 25%, and we have to calculate 1.2 20 crore, 25% of this, so what we get here, 3 lakh, 30 lakh. Got it? So this guidelines you must know for these types of question. If the bank has total 8 lakh loans and security available with bank is 50,000, which is NPA for last 8 months, also the ECGC coverage is available for 60% of loan amount. So what is accelerated provisioning requirement? If here available security is only up to 10% of loan, that is unsecured loan, right? And here 10% of 8 lakh is 10% of 8 lakh is the 80,000, right? 8 lakh, 10% is 80,000, right? That means if available security is up to 10% of loan, that is, it is called unsecured substandard loan. If more than 10%, it is secured substandard. And for substandard loan between 6 months to 1 year, the provisioning percentage is 40%. And what is the 40% of this 8 lakh? This is 3,20,000. 3,20,000. This is the answer. Then, when does an overdraft cash credit account become classified as a NPA? When does overdraft cash credit account become classified as NPA? See, the account remains out of order in respect of overdraft cash credit, because out of order means when an account shall be treated out of order when the outstanding balance remain continuously in the excess of sanctioned limit drawing power. In case where the outstanding balance in the principal operating amount is less than the drawing power, but there are no credit continuously for 90 days, that account is treated as out of order. For 90 days out of order, so that account is called out of order. So option B is correct here. When the account remains out of order, option B is correct. How does the National Asset Reconstruction Company pay for bad loans purchased from the banks? NARCL will purchase bad loans from the bank. It will pay 15% of agreed price, right? And remaining 80% will be in the form of security receipt. This 15% as a cash. So 15% in cash, 85% in security receipts. Which document provides a comprehensive assessment of a bank risk and outlines how the bank mitigate those risks and details the amount of current and future capital required? This is the option without question without option. So which document is that? Give the quick answer. So the one and only the document is CAIIB document. CAIIB document would be comprehensive paper that furnishing detailed information on the ongoing assessment of the bank entire spectrum of risk, how the bank intends to mitigate those risks, and how much current and future capital is necessary for the bank. So we can say that the answer of this question is CAIIB document. Next question. Which principle guides the implementation of CAIIB to ensure that the level of sophistication in risk management matches the nature, scope, scale and complexity of a bank business operations? This question is there in the examination. So which option is correct here? So let me tell you the principle of proportionality. The implementation of the CAIIB should be guided by this principle because banks are encouraged to mitigate or migrate and to adapt the sophisticated approaches, and RBI expect the degree of sophistication that is adopted in CAIIB. So principle of proportionality is very essential in balancing and competing the interest of different parties which is involved in a legal dispute. So principle of proportionality is the correct answer here. A bank has the following risk weight assets, capital required. So what is the total risk weight assets? Let's solve this question. Just try to solve first. See, total risk weighted assets, these are equals to risk weight asset for credit risk plus 12.5 multiply capital for market risk plus 12.5 multiply capital for operational risk. So this is 40,000 plus 12.5 multiply by 800 plus 12.5 multiply by 800, which is equals to 40,000 plus 10,000 plus 10,000, which is equals to 60,000 crore. Now how to calculate total RWA? That is equals to 40,000 plus here 8,888 and again 8,888, which is equals to 57,776 crore. So this is the answer. This is the answer. Is that clear? Next question. Obligation arising from issuance of letter of credit, guarantees and acceptances on behalf of customer that are shown under which head in a bank balance sheet? one and only contingent liabilities, because a bank obligation under issuance of letter of credit, guarantees, acceptances on behalf of constituents, and bills that are accepted by bank on behalf of its customers are reflected under only contingent liabilities. So the correct answer is here option D, contingent liabilities. Okay, so is that clear? These are some important questions from module D which will help to revise the concepts. I hope that this is clear. If you like this session, so kindly like this video and do the comment that you liked it. And if you have any type of issue, you can ask me. So thank you so much for your time. Let's meet in our next class, which is very important. Whole BFM syllabus in 2 days, starting from tomorrow at 6 p.m. on the same channel. We will discuss module A and C tomorrow, and day after tomorrow we are going to discuss about module B and D. So let's make this journey very beautiful and let's achieve our success. So thank you so much. Let's meet in our next class. Till then, take care and have a good day all. Thank you.